2, 1. Hello, everybody. Welcome to another exciting Ask Me Anything with Grant Anderson, the CEO of Mirrorscape. And it's been a little while since we've done one of these, and there's been a ton of work going on in the background, a lot of exciting new things, a lot of exciting new features, a whole new Mirrorscape experience coming up. It had been a little while, and Grant insisted that he come on out and chat with the community and give us some updates and kind of give you guys an opportunity to ask questions, see what we're up to, and check in on the state of Mirrorscape. So, Grant, if you want to go ahead and take it away, I do have a few questions ready, but we'll go ahead and do that for now and
Yeah.
give us an intro.
Hey, everybody. Yeah, good to see you, or hear you, or see your little icons, at least so far. I wanted to, I know there's been a lot of questions out there, and we have been working really hard behind the scenes, lots going on, lots of interesting things. But I know y'all have questions, of which some of them I've seen. But if you have asked a question, and you're actually in our audience, I'd love it if you guys would, pop on and ask your question live, and then we can hear it and answer those first, and then we can go back to this list and hit any that we didn't get to, because I'd love to just hear you guys and actually talk to our audience. So
yeah, that'd be great. Once you start by giving us a kind of a general state of the application, what we've been working on the most, kind of where we're at, any exciting new announcements you want to make. Let's just kind of like start off with a ramp up towards what you've been working on.
So the biggest thing that we have been working on right now is we have partnered with Google and announced, as you've probably seen in the newsletter, that we're bringing our first war game to the platform, which is Fallout Factions. And this is going to be on the new Samsung headset, which is still codenamed Project Muhan, which means infinity in Korean. And that is scheduled for sometime at the end of the year. We're still not exactly sure. They haven't done an official announcement date, but that should be coming out probably in time for Christmas. So super cool headset. This is the first Android XR headset. So, you've got the Vision Pro with Vision OS on it. You have Meta, which is also Android based, but has Meta OS or now Horizon OS on it. And then now you have Android XR. So they're doing for the XR space what they did for the phone space. So they're going to come out with the operating system platform and then work with all of the. We're also going to have a special guest, my cat, who is meowing a lot tonight, wants to be heard. A very pivotal member of the Mirrorscape team, however. So
She wants you to ask her anything.
Yeah, she's asking something. I don't know what, but anyways, so they're doing for XR on headsets what they did with the phones, and so Samsung is going to be the first headset that comes out, and then there's going to be many others. We were just at Augmented World Expo where I spoke. That video has not actually been. I just uploaded it to YouTube, so it has been since been private, but we'll open that up public so you guys can see that. I did a half-hour talk, 20-minute talk at Augmented World Expo, but there all kinds of headsets are being announced, and we're really getting into the world where we've wanted to be in, which is the really lightweight glasses that you can wear. You don't have these big bulky headsets, things like that. So X-Real, which you may have heard of, has a whole bunch of glasses out. Up to this moment, they've all just been big screens in space for you to watch movies on or to play games on or things like that. But now these new glasses that are coming out next year, first half of next year, are going to be full capabilities, hand tracking, full AR, being able to place things in space, just like all these high-end headsets like MetaQuest with pass-through and the Samsung headset and so forth. So super excited about all that stuff. So we had the opportunity to partner with Google and to be a launch partner with them with Fallout Factions, which is a great IP, a great title, going to get a whole new group of users onto our platform as well with that. So super excited about that. And that also then all of this development, again, we've always been built from the ground up for augmented reality, right? But it's always been on phones and tablets because that's what everybody's really had. So now this is the first time that we're moving into spatial computing, right? Into the spatial world. So that requires a completely new UI, re-expression of everything. But this is the holy grail. This is the really cool stuff, which is, when a couple years ago when we first were doing this on the first spatial headset test, where you can actually reach out and grab that mini with your finger and move it just like it's real. It's just so magical. So this is going to be the ultimate expression of what we've been going for. And all of this development work that we're doing with Fallout is going to then come back to the other properties, right? So for D&D and Pathfinder and things like that. So all the new interface that we're creating, the interface is going to be much, much better. The UI, everything we've learned from you guys and others in the beta test, just our own experience has been awkward to say the least in some areas. And so this is really going to make a much smoother proposition of all that. You're going to be able to have, instead of a map manager, you're going to have what we're calling scapes now. And that's the ability to save your table, basically. So you can have a separate scape for playing D&D with your friends, a separate scape for Pathfinder, a separate scape for Fallout Factions. And then all that stuff will be saved and will automatically save as you're playing. So you can just jump back in the next day, next, weekend or whatever, and start, pick up right where you left off. So all of this re-architecting the system, this whole new UI is all going to come back to our other platforms as well in time to, give us all this new capability. And that also includes things like character sheets, which in Fallout Factions are called model sheets, and also automated actions and automating gameplay and all of these good things. So all of this development that has been kind of under wraps, and we're really getting to the point where we'll be able to start showing this stuff, videos in the headset and so forth. We've been under a lot of NDAs with the headset and Android XR and all that kind of stuff up till now. But we'll be able to start showing that stuff off, and it's super, super cool. And then you can imagine, obviously, all this stuff will be coming back for fantasy-based games and other IP that we'll be announcing in the future. So lots of really exciting stuff. Lots of development been going on. So lots of new things coming up and towards the end of the year and next.
Nice. Carton Box actually had a couple questions he posted in our list, but he also seems to be coming up with some questions as you speak. Carton Box, do you want to come up and kind of hang out? We're trying to involve people more directly, so I've invited you. If you want to accept it, I think it should be popping up somewhere on your phone. Hey, we did it. All right.
Hooray!
Nice.
Hey.
Welcome to the show, my friend. Thank you for being a long-time Mirrorscape supporter and fantastic member of the community and moderator. Is just the best. You've got Grant's ear, so go ahead and ask him whatever you want to know.
Okay, so you talked about bringing in with the new VR headsets, the new glasses. You were talking about how you were working on. It sounded like a lot of quality of life, but you mentioned automating gameplay. So that's something that's actually kind of been a little bit of a conversation starter around the community a little bit. So when you say automating gameplay, like how automated do you mean? Is it like Mirrorscape the video game, or is it like we're gonna have like effect templates for like explosions and like the traps will trigger if you actually run a miniature across the tile spaces? Like what kind of scale are we talking?
This is Grant's favorite question. His Mirrorscape will never be a video game. That's something he really drives home as often as possible. So I'm glad you asked, and I'm glad that the answer he's going to give you is going to make you happy. But go ahead, Grant.
Yeah, I mean, look, we want to make this. The word that I always go back to since the beginning has been an authentic tabletop experience, right? The one that you can play, whether you're together around the tabletop, hopefully with nice lightweight AR glasses, and you can still do all the role playing that you like, or totally remotely, or half and half, or whatever, right? So that's always been the goal, but because we're digital, we do have the ability to add what I call the sweetening layer, right? The digital sweetening layer, and that lets you, do some cool like little muzzle flashes and from guns and Fallout Factions or spells effects and things like that. So all of that stuff we want to do, but by automations, for instance, the stuff that we're working on in Fallout Factions right now, wargaming is, and D&D to an extent, especially wargaming though, is very complex in terms of the mechanics, right? In measuring out the stuff and then determining, what your dice pool is, and then doing the calculations and re-rolling the dice and so on and so forth. And you guys can go to falloutfactions.com, and there's a starter guide there, quick start guide, so you can kind of see the rules there of what we're if you're interested in that. And what we can do though is now, and that can really slow gameplay, right? And so one of the reasons too is that we picked Fallout Factions, because it's a different kind of IP, because it's a first war game, and also it's a lot. You don't have to have a whole group. There's skirmish. It's player versus player, so you don't have to have a
Right.
whole group. And they're about 60 to 90-minute long sessions, so much faster to play. And then you can level up characters and do all that other kind of stuff, your crews and all of that, to battle against others. So we wanted to make it, they're quicker sessions, but there's still a lot of waiting around, right? Because you're figuring this out and like, okay, well, wait, what's my dice pool, and so on and so forth. So what we can do is have all that stuff automated. So you can go and you can be on the map and you can click on your mini, and you can then pick your action. And this is very similar to what D&D would be, like attack with my dagger or cast a spell. With Fallout Factions, it's get moving or open fire or patch up, heal, things like that. So you'll be able to choose that,
Okay.
and then you'll be able to select, say, a target that you want to target, and then based on that and the weapon that you're using, it will automatically pull your dice for you, right? So that you'll have your dice pool already there. You can throw them. It'll show you the calculation, and then the dice that you need to re-roll, you can re-roll those. It'll then do the math for you, tell you whether you've hit or not. All that kind of stuff just to speed up gameplay. So those are the kinds of things that we're talking about. Not to make it a video game, and you don't necessarily have to use those systems, but they're there. You can manually roll your dice and figure all this stuff out. But that kind of stuff just helps speed up these calculations, kind of some of the drudgery of the combat kind of stuff.
Yeah, I think too.
Sure. So what you're saying is like quality of life and accessibility tools, then, right?
Correct. Yeah, quality of life and accessibility. It's not changing the game. It's not turning it into a video game. It's basically taking like the math out and the drudgery out of looking up information. I mean, it's like what D&D Beyond does, right? Like you can click on your weapon and it will roll the dice, and then you can determine whether you're hitting, that kind of stuff. It's just speeding up that stuff where you don't have to sit around, do the math, figure out the ranges and stuff like that. Obviously, part of it in Fallout Factions and even D&D, you can use our measurement tools that we already have and determine who you want to target and things like that. But then, like in Fallout Factions, just as in D&D, there's bonuses for things in range and out of range and stuff like that. And so this will help you calculate that stuff, pull the dice that you need to roll, and you can roll those dice and it'll do the calculations for you. So really, yeah, it's quality of life and just speed of play.
And on top of that, we are striving to onboard a whole new generation of tabletop gamers and role playing gamers, and I feel like a lot of the patience that we had growing up learning these games is kind of going by the wayside with newer generations. So these tools that we're kind of integrating will certainly help on ramp people that might have a shorter attention span and kind of keep people engaged and keep the community fresh. With a less intimidating onboarding process. So, we keep that in mind as well while we're making this. But no, you will never see Grant embracing the idea of a Mirrorscape, the video game. Not that's been drilled home to us since we started. Carton Box, you did have a couple. Oh, go ahead.
Yeah, I was just gonna say, I think it's just it's like trying to minimize the amount of information that you have to look up, right? Like, in D&D, there's, I mean, it's a little bit better in the new books, but like, just spread out all over the place. Same thing with Fallout Factions, like looking and you're trying to figure out, oh, this weapon, okay, well, it shoots this different, this distance, and it's got the close quarter battle trait. Well, crap, I forgot what that meant, right? So I got to go look that up and stuff. So this just helps you figure all that out. And so you don't have to do the referencing in the books, looking up all this information and figuring out how many dice do I need to roll, and then adding all that stuff up, and then it just takes you through the steps, which I think you said it right. It's quality of life.
And then Carton Box, you did have a couple other questions. Do you want to ask him while you've got him, or do you want me to read him off? Or
sure. I'm trying to decide if I like your summarized version or if I like my original.
totally up to you. You can ask off the cuff too. Just yeah.
In your own words.
So, with the mobile first approach that Mirrorscape brings, has Mirrorscape, as it is right now, is it living up to your vision when you started working towards the Kickstarter campaign? Has it surpassed it? Is it a good stop along the way, but not quite there yet? Like, what's the
Yeah.
vision look like versus what's
So
here?
I would say that we are a stop along the way. It's definitely not totally where I want it to be. And I think, we say mobile first, which is what we are, but also really it's cross-platform now, right? We want, we wanted, because we were concentrating on augmented reality and having that special part of it, we needed to be on mobile devices, right? Where that stuff is
Mm-hmm.
obviously not on desktop. So we started there. Then, everybody in the open beta says, really want a desktop version, really want a desktop version, especially for, GMs and DMs and all that stuff, bigger screens, multiple windows, all that. And so it's just different, roles and different styles of play and access to different devices. Really, we're cross-platform. And so that means iOS and Android phones and tablets. That means PC and Mac via Steam. And now that means these new spatial computing headsets coming out, starting with Samsung, obviously Meta Quest, we want to be on that.
Mm-hmm.
X-Real glasses, so on and so forth. Ultimately on the Vision Pro when people can afford them, all that good stuff. But so again, the frustration really comes from the UI. So we, really designed around the iPad, and started that way, and then scaled it down to the phone, literally in a lot of ways. So the mobile phone experience is not where I want it. We have a complete new redesign that's going to be based on what we're doing in the spatial headset. That's going to be much better for phones, and work more like a traditional phone app, with where things just aren't scaled down, and you'll have sheets that come up and bigger, larger format text and things like that. Just a much better UI experience. So I would say the phone is not quite where I want it, and that is also where, if you look at our ratings, we have really good ratings on iOS, but we're not doing well on Android. And so the other part of that is, the Android ecosystem is just so huge, in terms of all the handsets that people have, and there's no way that we could ever test them all. So some people have a bad experience there. Most of that is because most of the ratings we get dinged on are because they're using unsupported hardware, right? Really old phones or really slow phones or stuff like that. But also because our Android audience is primarily using phones, right? Because people who have tablets mostly are iOS, so is which we designed around. So we have much better experience there. So when we get the bespoke phone interface on there, I think that you'll see much better experience on Android as well, which is where we're kind of lacking. So it's definitely not where I want it to be on Android or on phones. And overall, this new UI update, I'm really jazzed for. It's going to make it the whole experience and the whole onboarding process, and supporting a whole bunch of different games, a whole lot easier. I think you guys are really going to like it.
And that actually goes right
Wow.
into his next question. Nice segue. I don't know if you did that on purpose or not, but do you wanna roll right into that, Carton Box?
I will let you do that one for me, but I did want to say, as at times it feels like the resident Android user among the community mods, it is very exciting to hear that,
Yeah,
because when I'm running a game, I am like, I love it on my laptop, but when I'm building it, my phone is somehow so much better than my laptop for that, and I'm still having some frustrations, like with my S Pen grabbing stuff and moving it, and like I see where there's still room for improvement, and to know that you're already on top of it and you're getting close to rolling out an overhaul that'll fix a lot of that. God, you guys are good.
I would say that I would love to hear if you want to email me directly with your frustrations with that. I would love to have that list. So it's just Grant at Mirrorscape.
Or even
Okay.
a video. A video would be great too if you could kind of explain it while you're like screen recording, so that we could see step by step.
Yeah, and I mean, we have the feedback portal, and we've been looking at all that, and obviously are my own frustrations. By no means do I like what's going on there right now. So, but I would love to hear any of your additional frustrations to make sure that we're hitting all that stuff. But I think you'll be pretty happy with the stuff that we're coming up with.
Honestly, I thought it was user error until you had mentioned that it's not where you want it. So, like, I kind of thought it was a me problem.
No, but I do want to hear what your frustrations are because I want to make sure that what I'm thinking is what you're thinking, and that we're addressing all those things. So please do shoot me the list because I would love to see all that stuff. And that goes for any of you guys. Just
Sure.
feel
ADHD permitting, I will compile and get it to you.
awesome, fantastic.
Yeah, and then his next question, because we were talking about other platforms, if there's something like a D&D Beyond integration, would that open the door to platforms like Demiplane's Nexus for Pathfinder 2, Cyberpunk? Like, what other? Like, how do you see the future of integrating these different rule systems? Did I kind of get the gist of the question there, Carton?
Yeah, I had piggybacked off of Eagle Lord with the D&D Beyond question, but yeah, that's it. Spot on.
So it is depending on the game system. Obviously, we want to have licenses with these companies, right? So with Pathfinder, we have something that we're working on. D&D obviously has been problematic, as I'm sure you're all aware, in terms of kind of they've cut off licenses for new companies. They attempted their own virtual tabletop, which has pretty much been canceled. All those things. So we don't know what's going on with them. They own D&D Beyond. And so I would like to integrate with that. The question is how we do it, because I actually long ago spent 2 months on backward engineering from their web exporter, which was not officially supported. And so that means it could change at any time. And it was the format that it outputted in was horrific. Like, it just wasn't great. But I could get a lot of the information out to recreate your character within Mirrorscape, basically, and allow you to do things. So then, the other option is doing something like Beyond 20 does, right? Which is a plugin for Roll20. And so you can use your D&D Beyond character sheets. That might be a bit easier. So, ideally, we want to have licenses with these companies so that we can work with them. And like if they have a D&D Beyond or something like that, we can integrate officially with that through an API because those are supported. If we go in the back door of D&D Beyond, we could be spending a lot of time and effort and money and then be screwed in the end because they just change it from behind us because they don't guarantee any of that stuff. That said, because of D&D's problems, we have been discussing potentially, reapproaching them and seeing, hey, your digital tabletop didn't work out. Would you want to hook into ours or vice versa? So I would say on that, stay tuned. Definitely supporting, obviously, all the OGL stuff. Everybody else, we've looked at lots of ways that we might be able to tap into some other online systems. And again, the work that we're doing on Fallout with character sheets and stuff like that, we'll be able to support some of this stuff as well. We want to, tie into the things that people are using where we can. Demiplane is an interesting one because we actually know those guys or knew those guys and had many conversations about working together, which they were excited about. However, then Roll20 bought them. So
Yeah,
now that brings
that. Yeah.
So, that complicates things. So we have had conversations with Roll20 as well. Some interesting conversations, which we can't really go into, but we're working on all those fronts. It's a matter of technical, possibility. It's a business probability is what we have to look at. So we're always working on that stuff, but at the very least, what we are doing is, setting up like character sheets and for game systems and stuff like that, starting with Fallout, and then the architecture they're working on there can support other game systems, so you can at least, bring your character information in and then be able to use that stuff. But I'd love to be able to support like a D&D Beyond or to tie into that, so I'm still looking at options for that.
Nice.
And you had mentioned something with Paizo. Is that something where, like, if I have a Paizo account, I can kind of like with not Titancraft, what's the other Hero Forge? I can like tie my Hero Forge account to my Mirrorscape account, and I can kind of see and import menus. Is that like sort of what you're doing with Paizo, or is that you really can't say anything?
No, Paizo is
Just what you're working
basically, getting a license from them so that we can officially support all their products. So, for instance, being able to, when they come out with new modules, we can make all the maps for that and have an official product with all the content, the compendium for that module that links to all their source books, right? The core handbooks and whatnot, and be able to provide that like, a Roll20 would or a Demiplane would or stuff like that, but with all of our, visual greatness. So when you look at other products like Roll20 and Fantasy Grounds and Demiplane and all this stuff,
Mhm.
we've really concentrated on the visualization aspect, right? Where we have, awesome augmented reality capabilities and all the 3D maps and all this great stuff. And what we have not really had the time to concentrate on yet is the other half of that, which is the character sheet compendium, and all that linking. So that's the stuff that we're starting to bring in with the Fallout factions, because with wargaming, it's a bit easier, right? It's not quite as complex. You're creating crews and armies and things like that instead of all really detailed characters and all these thousands of options. But the things that we're doing there will allow us then to bring on, especially if we have an official partnership with, say, a Pathfinder or a Paizo, where we can, we have their books, we can scrape them, and we're looking into using AI to scrape all this stuff for us that, and put it in a format that we can put in a compendium very quickly and easily for you guys, so that we can bring on new modules and new source books very quickly. So that's the kind of stuff that we're looking at doing. So we've really been full bore on the visualization aspect, and now we need to bring on the second half of that, which is the compendium, rules, linking, and character sheets.
And so,
Nice.
since Eric is your master map builder, does that mean that when you get to this, that Eric gets to make like Corvosa and West Crown, and oh, I cannot wait.
That's right.
I mean, if you just post a picture of the map in the chat, you might tempt me anyway. I've been known to get distracted for a few days at a time because of you guys.
I have shown you West Crown previously,
Yeah, I
and
know. I remember that. It's very intimidating. All
well,
right, awesome. Do you mind if we kick you out of here and get Pure up here? I know he's been waiting patiently to ask Grant a few questions. So is that cool with you?
oh, by all means, thank you for your time, Grant, and thank you.
Thank you
Thank
so
so
much.
much, man. We appreciate you.
Yeah, give me that list of Android pain points.
All
Yeah.
right. Oops, I kicked him out, but he did say yeah. All right, Pure, let's see if this works. I just invited you to speak. Let me see. You should get a pop up. Oh, hey. Look at that.
Hey, it actually worked. I
It
guess it was just
worked.
when
I
we
think
weren't on stage.
yeah, I think we just had to start the actual stage instead of just like, doing the practice one. But you are on stage with Mr. Grant Anderson. I know you've got a lot to say. Pure has been super helpful, giving us updates and helping us create a list of the next MZ4250 minis for us to paint up and release and make sure that we really cover more ground on the fantasy side of things. So, Pure, I'll let you go ahead and take it away. You had a couple questions you sent in, and you've asked a couple since we started. So it sounds like you guys got plenty to talk about.
Yeah, so Grant, thank you so much for your time today. It's always great to be able to actually get a little bit of FaceTime with the boss.
Yeah, and you as well.
So I've got some background with technology and just being an application support engineer, and so a lot of what I'm going to be asking is probably going to be coming from that sort of an avenue.
Sure.
And so the first question that I had, and this was the one that I actually submitted initially, was basically about lessons learned. Working within a tech company, you don't know what you don't know until you realize you don't know it, and as a result, a lot is learned on the fly. It's that whole startup mentality, fail fast, break things, and figure it out downstream. I was wondering, what lessons have you picked up so far, and how have they and are they continuing to shape decisions being made as Mirrorscape moves forward?
Yeah, I mean, you really said it, and we talk about this all the time. In fact, I literally think we were just talking about this today in our dev group, is you don't know what you don't know, right? And along with that goes everything takes longer than you think, right? Um, we have this roadmap built out and all the features that we want to add and all the things that we need to do for Fallout and all, bringing this back to our other platforms. And you go in and you chart it out and you make subtasks and you design UI in Figma and you make flowcharts and you do all the things that you can. But then when you get in there, everything's always harder, right? And everything just takes so much longer because there's so many variables that we're working with. So it's great that we're working in Unity. That gives us a little bit of an edge in terms of being able to publish across all these different platforms fairly easily without having to make bespoke versions on each development platform. But it also doesn't mean like the UI is easy because there's no standard UI that goes across things. So all that has to be developed for. And then you have all these different application stacks. So we have Unity, and for instance, on the new headset that we're working on, we have Android XR, and and that is a development version, an alpha version really, and same thing with the headset, right? So all these things with Unity, the packages that we're using, our code, the headset, and the SDKs and APIs, all that stuff is changing all the time. So it's a constant shell game. And so, you fix one thing, something else breaks. And even as modular you can make the code, and as much as we're trying to use AI now, like everyone is to accelerate our jobs, and it really is helping us on the coding side, everything just takes longer than you think. So, I would love to make this, and that's our goal, is to make this the best, virtual tabletop in the world. That gives everybody, you can't give everybody everything that they want, but damn near. I know what I want. It just takes a long time to get there. We're a small company. We don't have a ton of people. And, we're a startup, so we're constantly looking for money, right, to fund the company and, all of that. So it's a challenge. And so we have to make difficult decisions in terms of, where we're going to make a big splash, what we can fund, what features we can get done, and how fast we can get them done. And so, you basically have to rearrange things based on all of that. But I think, the choices that we're making, again, the stuff that we're doing with Google, and this gets us, again, by doing this alliance, it gets us onto this headset, it gets us a splash, it gets us a new base of users, it gets us a great new IP, it gets us into wargaming, so that all this stuff evolves the platform and all these tools that we can bring back to all the other platforms and to all the other game systems. But it does, it just takes longer than you think.
Yeah, and while you're talking about it, like, why don't you explain some of the, for example, we've got these really, really cool status indicators that we've built because of Fallout. Tell us how that's going to like convert to other options for other games. Is it going to be like customizable colors and statuses and stuff like that? And, talk about that whole process a little bit, just so, we get the whole idea of how building one properly is benefiting the other.
Sure. Pierre, it sounds like you wanted to ask me something, though.
Yeah, it kind of, I guess the question ultimately, the one I typed into the chat, was more along the lines of, so sticking with where you were talking about the lessons learned and then, having to play the shell game of where you're going to invest to be able to go and make your splash. My question is, you mentioned previously when Carton was up on stage that there's a number of different headsets out there. Just tossing them out. You've got Vision Pro when it actually becomes affordable at some point, probably in the year 2050. But you've got the Meta Quest headset, and you mentioned another couple of AR or XR goggles that were out there or coming into market. Each one of these being a different software platform, they're all going to kind of function a little independent of each other, and even using Unity to kind of bridge some of the gaps, it's still different software platforms. It's coding for Microsoft Windows and Mac OS and Linux and every other based operating system as well. And so how are you managing to go and juggle which platforms you do to keep yourself from becoming so fragmented that you can't actually push any new software?
Yeah, and that's a good point because it is difficult the more platforms you support, even if you are on Unity. So again, we chose it kind of was serendipity and timing, but we chose the Samsung headset because we had an opportunity to work with Google as a partner on this. And so was a huge opportunity for us. We think it's going to bring a lot of visibility. Being a launch partner for that, also being one of the first to be on Android XR. And it also gets us into spatial, right? Which again, we needed to pick a headset. So you always have to do the math in terms of, okay, this headset's coming out. It's going to be brand new. So, not going to have a huge user base yet because it is brand new. Probably going to be a bit more expensive than the MetaQuest, just because of the capabilities of the device. So may not have as many users, but we'll also not have as much competition, right? We'll be there and be one of the leading, applications on that device. Whereas you look at MetaQuest, there's a million applications on there vying for people's attention, right? We're in talks with them right now to hopefully bring this onto their platform, but we want to not just develop on these platforms, kind of in the closet. We want to work with these companies. And so, we've been fortunate enough to have contacts in the industry and whatnot where we actually can get to the right people. And so we've been having good conversations with them about actually working with them where we can make a big splash. So when we do bring it out, whether or not they can kick in and help us with development or whether they can promote the product, right? And really shine a light on it, give us visibility in the store, co-marketing, things like that, are also things that we work with and are super important. So, it's as much like what can we do technically, again, back to what can we do that's going to make a splash business-wise. So really kind of juggling that stuff. The spatial stuff is once we're on the Android XR, it's not too difficult to go to Meta. The only, most of those things work because we're in Unity, and we are kind of standardizing our UI for that. So jumping from headset to headset isn't going to be too hard. And the new headsets coming out for Android XR, I mentioned the X-Real glasses. The app should just work on that because it's like an Android app that works on any kind of Android phone. So really what it then comes down to is like with Meta or say with another headset that comes out, if it has additional capabilities that we want to take advantage of. Meta has additional APIs. Of course, they have their whole presence platform with their avatars. They've done a lot of real advanced avatar work that they've had in Horizon World. They have access to the social graph in Meta and Facebook for friends and leaderboards and things like that. So lots of things that we can take advantage of that would only be on that platform that we'd have to code just for that device. So that's where we have to kind of be careful because when we do that, it makes it special for that device, and we want to do that, but then we can't use that anywhere else really. So it's balancing all of those things and what can we get done, and getting out a great version of the app like the Fallout Factions and doing it well on the headset, and then moving it onto other platforms.
Well, no one can accuse you of having too short of an answer. Pure, did you want to? Pure and I have been talking a lot in DMs about the minis that are currently available, the assets, what's coming up in the future, and how maybe to streamline that. Pure, I didn't know if you wanted to kind of touch on that a lot because I do know that you and I do speak directly a lot about it.
Yeah, I mean, obviously, the best way to go and make sure that the app itself goes and has a solid, stable user base, and ultimately people are buying assets, they are paying for minis, terrain pieces, what have you, is to have the ability for the entire campaign or what someone wants to do within the app actually available within the app.
Yeah.
And that was kind of the basis. There's been some hinting about it throughout this from Eric about, a list of minis with NZ4250 that's going to be coming out and getting painted into it. The basis of the list was founded around a lot of the starter campaigns for D&D and making sure that, when you walk into an owlbear in the forest, you're not looking at a bugbear mini and trying to imagine that it's an owlbear because it's not in them app. And so the goal that I had with it was to make sure we're able to play through entire campaigns. In my particular instance, I chose Ice Fire Peak as well as Lost Mines because they're the starter campaigns. If someone's new and just getting started, hey, everything you need is available in the app. And in both of those cases, all of the maps are created. Eric probably single-handedly lifted right through Lost Mines of Phandelver. Trying to keep that type of momentum going so that way there's actually the player engagement, because I mean, I think part of why Hasbro bought Wizards of the Coast was they knew it was basically a nerd tax. We were all going to buy the new books the moment they came out with them anyway. Trying to keep on with that from a business perspective. Is there going to be any give and take between, yes, we want to get onto this new platform, or, we really need to push more on the minis, which, based off the list, looks like is where some of the focus is going to start shifting soon.
Yeah, so we want to do both. Obviously, we need to build up features and we need to get on the platform. We need to bring on new IP. But we also, and bringing on new IP means new miniatures and terrain and that kind of stuff. But we also want to continue to push all the fantasy stuff. The whole reason we started. And we also want to, I completely agree, and we've been talking about it for a while, is doing the bundled adventure kind of thing, right? And ideally, again, what I went back to what I was talking about before is we'd love to be able to do it officially, right? Where we're a partner with these people, say if it's Paizo or a Wizards of the Coast or a Cobalt Press or whatever, to be able to create the VTT version of that like they do with everybody else. It's easy for everybody else to just take the maps, right? 2D maps and tokens and stuff. For us, it's a little more complex to create these things. But you're right, we need to have all those minis available across the whole spectrum so that we can have all of these adventures represented, and then the maps made. So there's nothing preventing us from creating that stuff, whether or not it's licensed, because you can't copyright a map. But we'd love to do it officially. But where we can't, we will certainly, like the D&D adventures, bundle that stuff up and have it all available for you. And so that's why I know Eric has been talking to you, and we've been talking about it internally to get those listed minis, both ones that are really important to you guys, that are lacking, and then also really starting to do it around the adventures. And then, the trick is, again, being small, is like, what are the most, and this is where you guys all come in, is helping us determine what is the next adventure you want supported, right? Like, I think the starter set adventures are great. That's perfect, especially the new one coming out as well. They're generally very good, and you're right, they're bring people into the game. They're nice and contained, great maps, just generally great quality. So starting with that stuff, but then figuring out, well, what else do we want, because we can't do it all. And so I think this goes back to someone's question in here that they asked.
It rolls nicely into the whole idea of Pure, and Nell kind of touched upon it with custom minis. Nell's asking specifically about Titancraft. Pure was kind of asking about making their own 3D files and adding them to the platform. So if you kind of want to talk about how in the future users can kind of help each other fill out those things instead of waiting for Mirrorscape to make those assets available.
Yeah, so lots of different things there. And I think this kind of, all our questions are kind of starting to commingle here, but one of the questions is kind of about what our roadmap is. So basically, we're kind of concentrating on 4 different areas. So we'll start with that. One is IP, bringing on, which is intellectual property, meaning new game systems, new games, new modules, things like that. So obviously, we started with fantasy and D&D and that kind of stuff, but we're looking at Paizo. We also bring Fallout at the end of this year out. So we're also working on a lot of cool other things that we can't talk about right now, but other game systems that we can bring on, which of course they're associated terrain and minis and things like that. And along with all that stuff comes the feature development that we're doing in terms of character sheets, compendium, and the rules automations and things like that I was talking about. Also, we're looking at integrating AI, and not in a crappy way, but in a really fun way. One that doesn't take over the game, but that helps us both internally to provide these character sheets and compendiums and things to you. But also one of the things that can do is potentially, make in-game assets. You can say, I want a elf with a long sword and her foot on a log and a purple cape, and it can make it and drop it on your table. That's the kind of the holy grail. And that's a ways off, but there's a lot of other interesting ways that we're looking to integrate it to make it a better experience. But the ultimate goal is to make this a user-generated platform, right? Where we're bringing out all these games and these cool IPs and partnering with big companies to bring this stuff up, but we can't do it all. No one can do it all, even big companies, right? Roblox can't do it all. So by making it a true platform and providing an SDK that you can use for those who are experienced in coding or a visual node-based editor or using an AI NPC agent that will help you code, you can make your own games on our platform, right? And be your own publisher. And so we won't have to make every single game, and you'll be able to bring on games that you love or make your own entirely new game on the platform. So ultimately, that's where we want to go, because making all these tools and all these different subsystems and then exposing those hooks to you, you can do the same thing that we're doing to bring these games on the platform. That's the ultimate goal. So, it's the user-generated content aspect of that. So as part of that, that would be being able to bring in your own minis and things like that. We want to, the SDK and all that stuff is, probably going to start the second half of 26. I mean, we're already starting on bits and pieces internally, but starting to expose that stuff. But we want to do some stopgap stuff where you might be able to bring in your own minis. The problem with that is there's a very specific, format and poly count and topology and things like that have to be followed in order to make them performant on mobile and allow us to, we have to decimate and create LODs, which is a level of details for various, distances from the camera in terms of performance, all because on mobile and especially on spatial headsets where you're rendering both eyes, performance is a huge issue. And so we think, though, that we can make some tools that people who are semi-experienced with, modeling and 3D programs and stuff like that will be able to bring in their own miniatures and things like that, which is going to be a big part, obviously, of the SDK, because if you're going to make a game, you're going to need to bring in your assets. So looking at doing all that stuff, and then just the fourth bit of the, the future roadmap at the high level is the other platforms, right? Going on to the spatial computing headset with Samsung, we're MetaQuest, Vision Pro, maybe, any of these new interesting ones that are coming up. And again, most of these are going to be variants on a theme. Like all the Android XR headsets should just work with our stuff with maybe minor adjustments. But we want to be where everybody wants to play on what device they have and be able to play cross-platform. So IP, AI, the SDK, and other platforms are kind of the four top levels. But in that SDK and user-generated content and making and building your own games is being able to bring in your own assets. So we're looking at a way to bring that capability to you sooner than waiting for the whole SDK thing.
Yeah, I think that, that's the exciting part too, is the, the final Mirrorscape boss is that people are going to be able to use us as a platform to launch their own games. There are so many amazing homebrew games with their own rule systems and everything, and just the idea of having a platform like Mirrorscape to launch those, that's really the most exciting part.
It's like what you saw in the Foundry, right? Like with the Foundry, they did, they have an API. It's JavaScript based and it's all web based, but it is exposed, so you can create, bring on your own game systems and modules. And in fact, they did not have Pathfinder on there, and so the community built it, and it took them 3 years, but they all brought it on, and then it became an official supported product on the Foundry. So. That's kind of the similar model what we're going to do, but with our, of course, visual presentation, AR, 3D, all the other goodness that we bring to the table, literally.
Awesome. Pure, did you have anything else, or should I invite Liger's Eye up?
Let's get Liger's Eye on up. I think I've eaten up enough of your time.
No, if you have any more questions, this is for you guys. We're here for you.
I'm good. Thank you so much for your time.
Amazing.
All right,
Thank
Pure.
you so much, Pure. We appreciate it, man. We appreciate you.
Gonna get you more minis.
Yeah. All right. Let's invite Liger's Eye. Let's see if this works. Look how smooth it's going today. I thought this was going to be a day
Say that.
full of issues and problems, but it seems like everything is going smoothly. I say that, and
And
then we're
just
going to realize that Liger's Eye microphone doesn't work or something, right?
Well, does it work?
Ah, it works, and it sounds great. Look at that.
hey.
Welcome to the Grant Show, Liger's
Thank you,
Eye.
sirs.
Looking forward
So
to what you
actually,
have.
I'm going to leverage off of one of Pierre's questions about the headsets, and Grant, you kind of touched on what I was thinking when you answered. I'm thinking back to when I first learned about Mirrorscape, still Arcana then, and saw demo videos online. And it's like that sold me immediately. It was so obvious what this product could do and its potential made it real easy decision to sign up for beta. Given the nature of the AR VR headsets, are you anticipating having to do a lot more hands-on marketing? Um, what I'm thinking is, I you can't just like walk into a game store and maybe they'll set up demos or something, but it's not something that you can just uh, understand how the product works uh, by watching someone wearing a pair of headsets. Um, I spoke to you guys at GaryCon a couple of years ago, and I got a little demo of the glasses that
Right.
Qualcomm had there,
Yeah.
and there was no way I was going to have any concept of how that worked without having actually seen it in person. Do you? How are you gonna address that when all of these headsets come out?
So,
So
like
that
what I'm hearing is Liger's Eye wants to go to Hawaii and Bora Bora and these other places to kind of demo Mirrorscape for us. Is that what you're getting at there, Liger's Eye?
Sure, sure. Actually, I prefer Australia, but yeah,
Oh, okay.
anywhere.
Anywhere. I think we have a couple. If we a couple folks in Australia that might beat you to it, but
Well, I mean, I've been working in AR now and VR for 12 years or more, even at this point. Back when Facebook first bought Oculus, um, and this has always been a problem. Is trying to show, and this is for the Kickstarter, for our, on YouTube, for our investor demos and pitches that we do, for our marketing. It's really tough to try to show an immersive 3D medium in a 2D medium that most people have, right? And that's why you always see these wonky things with, going into the headset and you see the people and they, it's all, we have to do all these weird tricks like I used to do in the visual effects industry with compositing all the stuff in so that people in a 2D medium can get a sense of what it's like in the 3D medium. But there is we always tell like in our investor pitch, oh, I saw the video, go, yeah, but we need to show it to you because there's no substitute for actually experiencing it. So yes, we do need to do that. The question is, it's a little bit more difficult. What's great is because we partner with Google, they're going to help us with that, right? And at these shows at like AWE, which was Augmented World Expo, and Qualcomm and Samsung and all these partners can help us do that. But yeah, it's tough. And also for these upcoming launches, we are going to be doing more marketing and advertising and things like that. But it's really hard for anybody, and even a company as big as Meta, they do the same things. You look at their ads for MetaQuest, and it's all the, person putting in the headset, and then woo, the virtual world comes around, and then you see them flailing around, and things are, they've comped on the experience into the 2D frame to kind of give the feel of what it's going to be like. And in fact, we're talking with marketing agencies that excel at doing that right now. Making those types of videos. And Don, my co-founder, makes most of our videos and does an awesome job at that as well. So it's tricky, no doubt. And it's also hard to get, we can't buy 10,000 headsets and send them around. So, but what we do want to do is, early on, when we saw you and other people, is being at those conventions again when we have the headset and stuff, so that people can come up and see it. So once we get into the headset world, we'll be heading back to the conventions, Gen Con, GaryCon, GameHole Con, all those good ones to be able to show it, because that's where seeing is believing for sure.
Looking
Awesome.
forward to it.
Yeah. Anything? I mean, the thing is, I'm doing an AMA all day, every day in the Discord. You know what I mean? So it's special to have Grant come up here. But hopefully, I'm doing my best answering day to day. So a lot of the basics are covered. Mythily would not mind coming up and hanging out. Liger, did you have anything else? Or
No, I'm good.
amazing. Thank you so much for popping
Good
up.
to hear your voice again, and hope to see you at a convention soon.
Oh yeah.
We'll send you
Cool.
out to Hawaii sometime. All right.
Hey, I'll say my dream is to have you guys at Comic-Con, and then you'll hit the most people there.
Yeah.
Yeah, Grant, send
that'd
me. Send me, Grant.
be- that. Yeah, exactly.
It's either sending me to Comic Con or doing the whole headset thing.
I
So
think Comic Con, the date we would be at Comic Con would probably be next year.
that would be awesome. All right, thanks, man, so much. We'll talk in Discord.
Thank you.
All right,
Cool,
later,
thanks.
man. All right, we got Mythily coming up. There he is. What's up, Mythily? Can you hear us?
Maybe test.
Yes, we got you.
Like,
Hey.
This is going way too well.
so you kind of touched on it already. Some talking about the. I've done forgot my words. Roadmap. There's the word I wanted. Any more as far as like roadmap and estimates on when we might see things along that roadmap that you could share?
So, I mean, high level stuff. So, like for game systems and IP, Fallout is the one that we can talk about. That's going to be towards the end of this year with the new headset that's going to come out. We do have some others that we can't speak about yet that we're working on, which will be the first and second half of next year. As far as the like AI stuff that I'm talking about, really looking at getting some of that going towards the end of this year, beginning of next. Some really exciting stuff, which I can't really go into detail on either, but I think you guys are really going to like it, and it's really could be very special. So that kind of stuff we are in research and early dev mode on. The SDK and user generated content, like I said, that's probably going to be around the second half of next year. We are, as we're building out these features and these new systems, we're making them modular so that they're available. And then we'll need to make the external facing calls that someone else externally would use to invoke them, as well as MPC. I don't know if you're familiar with that, but it's the Model Context Protocol, MCP, protocol for AI that would allow an AI LLM to interface with our app so that you can ask it to do things and create things and do all kinds of cool stuff. So, getting the AI stuff going end of this year, beginning of next, and then SDK second half of 26. Other platforms would be, again, Samsung is going to be an Android XR towards the end of this year. MetaQuest, if everything goes according to plan, could be first quarter of next year, around the summer potentially. And then I think you'll start seeing, some of these other headsets, like I mentioned, the X-Real Aura platform, they're calling it. I don't know if that's going to be the final name, but they were showing it at AWE. That one is going to be out first half of next year, and that's an Android XR device, which theoretically, if our app that we're making now for Samsung should just work on it as well. So, all the Android XR headsets, much like all the handsets for phones that come out, we don't need to make a separate version for each of those phones. We just need to make sure that they work across all that whole ecosystem. So there's a lot of devices that we'll just get for free by building for Android XR.
I think also the roadmap people are asking about mostly is like, when might we see the status conditions for the current Mirrorscape app, or maybe a Titancraft integration? When might we see some of those more Mirrorscape centric in-app updates?
So Titancraft, we really want to get that done. It's just it's similar to what we did with Hero Forge, but we just don't have the dev time for it at the moment. So that's probably going to wait. That'll probably be, I would say, the first quarter of next year. I think we'll probably start working on it towards the end of this year, but I would probably look for that first quarter of next year. And then as far as minis and what Pure was bringing up, we want to get this cadence going again so that we have monthly drops and trying to get all these MZ 4250 minis done and just get a steady stream of that stuff coming out. And then of course on the new IP that we're doing, like with a Fallout Factions or something like that, we're going to have new assets coming out when that stuff drops.
Yeah, I think that kind of lines up with something Eagle Lord had mentioned. Let me see. He wants pieces to be able to rotate on the XYZ axis so they can be toppled over, laid flat. He's asking about some visual effects for weapons and spells and maybe some more environmental effects. So what's that look like?
Things that you just brought up. So I forgot you also mentioned the status of statuses and stuff like that. We have that system basically done for Fallout. So that stuff will be coming. This is all the kind of thing that we'll be backporting to the other platforms and other systems. So in Fallout Factions, you have harms and weary tokens and things like that. Those are all status markers that we can pop up now. So that stuff is done and will be coming back. Again, we need to get, that'll probably be end of this year-ish, beginning of next. And then the full rotation of pieces, that's something else that we're doing in Fallout. So all that, basically that's a UI thing. And so in this new UI that we're doing, we have the ability to do that in our asset system. So you'll be able to rotate all that stuff, which is super cool. And then what was the third part of it?
Visual effects, spells, and
yeah. So we're doing that for Fallout as well with some of muzzle flashes and explosions and things like that. So we have an effects package that we've been working with where we will be using the same thing to bring spells and spell effects. It's a little more difficult with D&D and Pathfinder because there's so many different things. So we'll be hitting the top 20, most lightning and that kind of stuff, magic missiles, stuff like that. But we have been, the effect system that we're working with will be able to handle all that stuff. So all that stuff, again, a lot of the work that we're doing here is all coming back to the other systems and platforms as soon as we can. So yeah, a lot of that stuff is in progress or already done, like the condition stuff.
Nice.
Good stuff coming.
Absolutely.
And the MetaQuest news is good. My wife's been trying to sell mine off. I don't use it because I've just been waiting to use it in Mirrorscape.
Wait, which one is that?
The MetaQuest.
Oh, okay. Yes, right.
She's been trying to sell my headset off because she's like, we don't use it. So it's waiting.
Yes, I know. We definitely want to get on there. Obviously, it's the biggest user base and the cheapest headset. And a lot of people have them, millions of them out there. It's just we had the opportunity to work directly with Google, so we had to take that opportunity. Who's going to help us out? And then now
makes perfect sense
as well. What's that?
So it makes perfect sense.
Yeah, but obviously Meta's a huge platform, so we definitely want to be there, and we are working with them and having talks with them. So hopefully that all materializes and we can get on there, like I said, first half of next year. So Don't sell your headset.
Do you have anything else for us, Smithley?
Well, the only thing I didn't hear in that roadmap is Eric's very lonely as the only one represented. So potential of having the other Mirrorscape founders as minis or busts for us to
that's
enjoy.
what you meant. Yes. Okay. That's a very good point. And yeah, we need to make that happen.
I think we should make them in Titancraft and have those be the next package.
Ooh, there it is.
I think that's something we could.
out of this package. I'm gonna base it off my AI enhanced character photo that someone made for me.
What
Which also,
what class and race do we think Grant would be? I'm trying to think. I'll be nice and let you guys decide.
it's gotta be a wizard or come on.
An
There
elf,
was
elf
no
wizard.
initial thought was wizard.
All right. Was there
I would-
anything else, Mythily? Mythily.
No, I think I've covered the basics.
All right. Well,
Cool.
thank you so much, man. I'm just gonna go ahead and kick you off stage and then see if there's anyone else. I think we've covered most of the questions. Galen had asked if we're going to open up the ecosystem to modules the way that Foundry has with their VTT, and he also asked, what are the integration of rule sets going to look like? I think we're going to get a lot of those answers when we kind of release a demo for Fallout. You'll kind of see how the operating system looks. If you want to kind of expand on that quickly.
Yeah. I mean, sort of with Fallout. Fallout's a war game, so it doesn't have as much compendium text kind of stuff, right? Fallout has scenarios, which are fairly basic kind of things. But, similar to other VTTs, we want to have the compendium, which has all of the module and source book content cross-linked, easy access to reference information, and character sheets. Those are the two big things, compendiums and character sheets that we're lacking. And so again, part of our AI efforts are, the hard part and why all these companies and why Demiplane exists is it's hard taking the source material. Oh, brother. Sorry, just had a notice. The source material that we get is all like InDesign files and PDFs. So we have to scrape those out, make the text, get it all out in correct format, and then have that stuff hyperlinked and so on and so forth. But that's why all these other companies existed. That's why D&D Beyond was created. That's why Demiplane was created, and so on. And now with AI, we can really use some of these tools internally to help us do that in a very quick manner, so that we can take a module and have it, instantly scraped and cross-linked with everything, and then be able to present that in the app. So now you have the sidebar right in our app. Well, that there's going to be at the bottom, and of course the new UI. We'll make it a bit different, but at the bottom will be a compendium button, and you'll be able to have all the cross-link content. You'll be able to make that window bigger, and you'll be able to reference that with the GM. And the same thing there on the side, you'd have a character sheet, which is hot clickable, or tappable, so that you can use your attacks and your spells, and do saving throws and things like that, all within the app. And so those things are, we have the basics of that built out in Fallout now, because again, it's a war game and there's model sheets and they have stats and some, skills and things like that, but not nearly to the extent that, D&D or any of the other RPGs do. But it's the same concept. And so we'll be extending that to make all that stuff available inside the app. And again, we've really concentrated on the visualization aspect, but that is the other half that we have to get in there to make it a complete system. Otherwise, you guys are obviously having to use D&D Beyond, or you're having to, use physical character sheets and all that stuff. And, we want to be a holistic solution. But it's, Demiplane is an entire company that just does that. So it's not an easy thing. So, but with the advent of AI, we think there's a way that we've already started experimenting with tools and creating agents that can scrape all that stuff and do the cross-linking and all that stuff for us. And so that will put it into a format that we can easily bring into the app to present to you guys.
Yeah, and I think it's a full experience as well. Once you see how much information you can kind of put around you when you're using these glasses, it's like having multiple screens. Like when you're GMing and you have your character sheets on one screen, your initiative tracker on another, your manual on the other, Mirrorscape on another. It's like, that's all in front of you when you're using these augmented reality glasses and stuff. And yeah, it's still quite a bit into the future, but we want to be there when it's ready to be there. And I've personally seen, we have these bi-weekly meetings where we sit down and just go over all the progress that's been made and kind of see how things look ahead of time. And, I'm so looking forward to when you show everyone the progress that's been made with, just selecting the actions and the movement actions and stuff like that. There's like a nice round menu that comes up around the mini when you tap on it, and it gives you all your options. It's similar to what we have now, but more modern, and it's more directly tied to the actions in the game rather than building or creating. So it kind of
Yeah.
shifts the focus from the build, especially when it comes to the minis, because there's only so many things you should be able to do with minis when you're building, and it really goes to focus on the gameplay. And I really want to show you guys screenshots of that or videos of that, but Grant has not let me just yet. I think he's waiting for a few more tune-ups, but it looks so cool. You want to kind of talk about that, and then we'll wrap it up?
Yeah. So like I said, very soon we'll be able to share some of that stuff. And in fact, in our newsletters, I'm going to start talking about, we'll start sharing some of that stuff, and also having a dev blog in there where we're talking about the progress with that. Just need to get it, push it a little bit further, and then we should be able to start presenting this stuff. But I will say, what Eric was talking about, if I never had to design for a desktop or a phone or a tablet again in my life, it would be amazing, because facial computing is just so cool. Like, you have so much space, like, to be able to put windows and reference material. It's perfect for this application. Because you can have up your whole compendium, you can have up your character sheet floating here while seeing the whole map, and sensitive information coming up. So it's just so much more freeing to be able to have all of the space to be able to design in. So super excited about all the spatial stuff. And then we want to bring back all the stuff that we're all these UI innovations back to the other platforms. And we already know how we're going to do that as we're designing this stuff. How this is going to look on this and this, so that we can port that back and bring all these innovations back to the other platforms.
Amazing. We've gone quite a bit over our 1 hour goal, so I'm going to let these fine people get about their day. I did record all this. We will be uploading everything to the YouTube channel, and I will make sure that everyone gets the link as soon as it's ready. And thank you guys so much. You've been here for years and years and have helped us create what we've created. We plan on sticking around for a long time. We're making what I consider some very, very exciting strides towards what the future of tabletop gaming is, and I think that you guys are going to be really excited with what we're doing. And thank you, Grant, for spending some time away from the development work for us. And I know you hate to tell yourself away, but
No, we need to do this more often, and we've just been so heads down in development and all the crazy stuff going on. But we couldn't do it without you guys. You've been fantastic, each and every one of you, and we're nothing without you. So this is all for you, and exciting stuff ahead, and let's keep the conversation going.
all right, thank you guys so much. We'll see you soon. Oh, and if you have any
Cheers.
questions, just message me on Discord. I'm always here. Mirrorscape.gg/Mirrorscape. See you soon.
Cheers.
Bye.